Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist in Las Vegas, Joe Mac in New York. Good morning, Joe.
Hello, Jim. How you doing post-Super Bowl?
Well, I'm suffering a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. It's almost like you're so intense on football for so many months, and then all of a sudden you wake up and there's no football. But I've been doing basketball pro in college. I've been doing hockey, so it's not like I haven't been doing it. It's just like there's something missing, and I know what it is. It's football. But then we have the XFL starts this week. I don't know if anybody's going to be watching or if anybody cares, but I'm going to be looking at it a little bit and see if I can find some soft spots to pick up a bet here or there. I'm not going to go crazy with it. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready. I think I need a little post-football break and everything. I know we've gone down this road before with some other leagues, trying springtime football and everything. I don't know. I don't know if it really works full-time in this country. I mean, as much as people love football, it's been proven it's America's sport. I almost think as much as we miss it, we need a little downtime. I don't know. I think it's a little strange that they're starting it the week right after the Super Bowl. I mean, I think even people like you and I, diehard football fans and handicappers, need a little break. But we're going to see. I mean, some football in the past in our lifetime, like the USFL, had actually some quality teams and named players. But then you've got other things in the last couple of years, or back to the XFL and whatever days, and they weren't able to pull it off. So I'm a little skeptical, to be honest, and I don't know if we're going to dip our toes too much into it, but we'll see. We'll grow along with it if it looks like it's going to be something decent and people want it. I'm sure we're going to dig a little deeper into it. But right now, I almost think they should give it a week or two after the ball before they get it going. But I'm sure this is what their marketing people are telling them: get it started right away. So we'll see how they're able to take off.
Well, let's talk about real football. We just had a Super Bowl. I was at a nice party. I lost with San Francisco. I had that, and that was what I gave out to my clients. Sorry that I lost. I thought I had the right side, but we can knock that around. I know you had the other side, so you feel much different about it. I made some bets. I had probably about 15 prop bets, and I did bet the under. I found 55.5, and I bet that under. That moved so much, that's why I didn't give it out, because there was such an up and down swing on the total. But it's over. We got a new champion. Middle of America has Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid finally got a title, which that's nice. I was happy for him. I had question marks about some of the play calling and some of the officiating, which we always have, that's with the same old song and dance. But I think that I would need a lot of sleeping pills if I was Kyle Shanahan. He's, I think, the only coach that has lost two double-digit leads in Super Bowl games in his career. He's been there twice. He's blown a 28-3. He blew a 10-point lead in the second half in this one, and then he gets outscored 21-0 in the last 6 minutes of a Super Bowl, which is absolutely incredible. So that was amazing. I can't really explain how the hell that happened.
Yeah, I'm glad you're saying that, because you take it for what it is. I know it's Super Bowl and the whole world was watching. But, I mean, it was, and you and I watch a gazillion games a year. You watch NFL. I watch NFL. I watch as much college as my eyeballs can take. I mean, this was a strange game. It didn't have, in my mind, a whole lot of flow or rhythm to it for much of three quarters, let's say. It had a couple of exciting plays and whatnot. It's funny, Jim, it reminded me so much of the Super Bowl, the one and only Super Bowl that I've been at in my life, which was Cardinals Steelers back in, I can give the date, it was February 1st, 2009. And I sat on the 10-yard line about 10, 12 rows off the field. And for much of the game, not much was happening. And I guess for what I paid for the tickets at the time, I said, geez, I certainly wanted a more entertaining Super Bowl. And I was rooting back then for the Cardinals. Anyway, the fourth quarter, all hell broke loose. There was a big play, if people remember. Larry Fitzgerald caught a pass, went about 70 yards, 65 yards. The game, I mean, like it played out like it was happening in my front yard with all the action right there. And it was just a wonderful, entertaining fourth quarter. To me, that's how this went. The game, not that it was choppy, but it just didn't have a whole lot of rhythm. Mahomes obviously was under the gun. The 49er pass rush was certainly giving him a hard time, and the Chief offensive line looked really overmatched. And then, really, it all turned around in one fell swoop. They came out of a timeout. Mahomes threw that 44-yard floating pass up to Tyreek Hill. And from that point on, and I watched the replay the other night on NFL Network, you could really make the argument that everything that could go right for the Chiefs in the last six and change went right. Everything that could go wrong for the 49ers went wrong. And I tell you, I'm critical of Shanahan, and he deserves, whatever criticism comes his way. But I have to say this: when I it again and reviewed it, the 2nd and 5 play that got batted down at the line of scrimmage was a terrible call. He should have been running the ball there, let the clock keep running. He had gained 5 yards on first down. Should have run the ball, no question. Then it was 3rd and 5. You almost have to pass the ball. But outside of that, I have to say I lay a lot of the blame on the 49er defense. I mean, I know they chased Mahomes around for a good part of the game and, probably got a little tired. But they gave up scoring drives of 83 and 65 yards there before the, tack-on touchdown at the end. And, they let the 49ers down as much as the head coach did, really. And when you think about it, if the Niners, who were down 4 at the time, connect on that Garoppolo deep pass to Emmanuel Sanders, it's a whole different game right there. He overthrew him by 8 to 10 yards. But, you got to admit, that was a play called by Shanahan, and he had the guy open. So I don't heap as much blame on Shanahan. That 2nd and 5 play, to me, really destroyed any little momentum they had. And but, listen, the defense didn't get it done in the last 6 minutes. Garoppolo didn't make a big play. The offensive line didn't hold up as well as it was. And as I said, everything that could go right for the Chiefs in the final, let's say, 7 minutes went right, and the whole fortunes turned around. I know people sometimes scoff at the whole destiny thing, but let's face it, this is a Chiefs team that did win 3 postseason games after being down double digits, where some crazy things happened to get him back in, right? I mean, you could go back and replay the other games. Tennessee, beating Tennessee when it was looking like Tennessee was the man among boys out there for a while. They beat Houston, the terrible call of a fake punt by Bill O'Brien. Things just seem to fit right for the Chiefs, which when you're, if you're not a fan of either team or you didn't have a wager on either team, you've got to say, when you consider all the hard luck the Chiefs have played in the playoffs in the last, 25, 30 years, they had this one coming to them, and they got all the breaks, and they took advantage of them.
Well, I like your overview. I agree. When I pick apart, I watched Brian Baldinger did a great recap of some of the offensive plays that San Francisco had in the game. And it's easy to criticize from the sideline. I mean, Shanahan's undergun, play calling is difficult. I mean, somebody can question why, with the best running game in the league, did he only run the ball 10 times in the second half? Why did, how come Kansas City had more rushing plays than San Francisco did? It's kind of, why was there 42 dropbacks by Mahomes and not one offensive holding call on the offensive line the entire game? Why did the officials just hold on to the flags and not call, and then they call that one, against Kittles, and so it was just, I'm not trying to say, okay, I'm redboarding because I had San Francisco. No, I'm not saying that, because I thought that I thought Mahomes was off his game first 3 quarters for sure, and then that last 10 minutes, 6 minutes, whatever, he did what he is very capable of doing all the time, but I really have to question a guy that has a dominant running game, gaining 6 yards per carry throughout the game. And then in the last 3 possessions San Francisco had, they averaged 51 seconds per possession. And that alone will fatigue your defense because you're constantly putting them back on the field. I thought Shanahan choked. And I used to play professional sports in a different sport, but I've seen people choke. When the ring is right there, when the trophy is right in front of you, you start to act differently. He did the same thing when he was with Atlanta, the offensive coordinator. I'm very critical of what he does under the gun in the big game. He's done it twice, so I have to wonder: do I ever want to have a double-digit lead with this guy? And then Baldinger pointed out how many times Garoppolo missed open. Not that he threw the ball. He did miss the one long pass that threw it over 10 yards over the guy's head, but that can happen. But how many reads he made bad in the game? If you watch the film, like Baldinger pointed out, it was a great recap. There were wide open receivers that he never looked at. And it just showed that he was tight. He had an idea where he was going, and he went there. But he didn't play like a professional quarterback. He played like a rookie. And I know he's doesn't have that many big games, and very few. Nobody gets to the Super Bowl often, but he was there twice with Brady when he was with New England. But I was critical of. I'm very critical of what San Francisco and Garoppolo and Shanahan did in that game. I think they were the better team overall, but I'm not taking nothing away from Kansas City. I think Kansas City earned the win. They did the more right things at the right time. I thought Andy Reid had some great play calls. He had some schemes that San Francisco had not seen before, and he did a great job in preparation. I don't think Shanahan did. And I throw a lot of that on the loss on him, and a lot on Garoppolo's inability to pick up wide open receivers. And if you watch this film Baldinger did, it's on YouTube, and you just see wide open. The guys, if he ever went to a second or third read, it would have been easy to find them, but he didn't. But anyway, when you look at it and you really go back and say, hey, you can't really get too far out on a limb with this. You got one guy that hasn't been there. You got another guy that was there as a backup. Super Bowl's big, and all the timing is different. The halftime's longer. Everything, and the pressure is enormous. Yeah, these guys are not experienced. Not too many quarterbacks are that experienced. Not too many guys like Brady that gets there 6-7 times in his career. So, I can criticize them, but I have to say maybe that's, as a fan, you can get all wrapped up in it. But as a bettor, you have to say, hey, let's hold off a little bit. These guys really, we don't know how they're going to act under this kind of pressure.
No, that's fair enough. I can see your point. Now, I think the frustrating thing for anyone, as you said, we had the other side, Jim Hurley Network, wound up going with the Chiefs. Actually, we rode the Chiefs right through the whole postseason, which was a nice part of the reason we went 8-1 in the postseason for Jim Hurley Network. But I'll say this, it's got to be, and again, I'm watching it rooting for the Chiefs. You're watching it rooting for the Niners. The Niners were the better team. They were the better team at the line of scrimmage on both sides. They really were more efficient. Mahomes was on the run. To let a game like that get away, and especially being in the Super Bowl, is got to be terribly, terribly frustrating for San Francisco. But again, the way I'm looking at it is Shanahan deserves hits here, not nearly what he deserved to take in the Super Bowl when he was the offensive coordinator with the Falcons. And we talked about it, I believe, in the week between the AFC and NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. We both talked about the fact, how that game really was a big stain on his resume, even though he was not the head coach. Again, I keep having thoughts of him having Matt Ryan go back and 7-step drop and get sacked and really taking him out of field goal range. Just totally inexplicable type of things that happen. In this game, okay, I give him his fair share of blame. I don't think I give as much as you do, though, because he had play calls where he had guys open. I remember the Fox cameras showing Kittle in the middle of the field at least twice, basically with his arms waving, like, throw me the ball, Jimmy. And Garoppolo was looking to either dump it down or throw it, outside the numbers to his receivers. And Kittle, in both shots that I remember, had wide open spaces around him. We know how dangerous he is after the catch. So, Garoppolo did not. I guess I look at it this way. The 49ers could have and should have been up by more than they were when we got down to 6 minutes to go. And then when their offense completely went into the tank, like you said, I think they wound up having the time of possession was nothing for them in the last 6 minutes. They only gained a couple of first downs in the last 4 possessions. And it's something we talked about, too, on the flip side. Mahomes had all those weapons. And when you think about it, they made 2 big plays in the passing game. Really not any more than that. They made the 3rd and 15 play to Tyreek Hill that gained 44. And he threw that, I don't know if it was a wheel route, but he threw it where Richard Sherman got beat by Watkins for big yardage. Outside of that, the Chiefs' offense, if you did like an average per play, they didn't do all that much. So really, what could go wrong did go wrong for the Niners. Maybe they should have been up more. Maybe Garoppolo should have, been able to spot up other wide receivers. And if that's the case, you really, in that regard, you can't blame Shanahan. He had decent play calls and he had some guys open. The quarterback didn't deliver it. So, but to me, when I saw the replay again, and they gained 5 yards. They had a 2nd and 5, and he went back and threw the ball, and it got batted down by Chris Jones. The clock obviously stops. I said, that's just a terrible play call. In my view right there, I said, you have to run the ball. Even if you gain a yard with Mostert or whatever, or Coleman, even if you gain a yard, the clock is going to be another 45, 50 seconds advanced, and you have to do it at that point of the game with a double-digit lead, and he didn't do it. So definitely criticism on Shanahan, but you know what? I almost feel like it's a game where the Chiefs really were struggling to kind of find their way, and the 49ers just did not deliver the absolute knockout blow, and it came back to haunt them, which we've seen many times in football. Teams that hang around or are allowed to hang around, if they got enough playmakers, they can beat you in the end, and I think that's what happened to you.
Well, Joe, yeah, that's all very accurate. You really think about this. I don't know if you tried to say who's more at fault, was it Shanahan's play calling or Garoppolo's inefficiencies? I'd have to say probably Garoppolo's probably 80% the problem. We've seen it in a couple games where it looked like Shanahan was trying to protect his team from Garoppolo. Because, maybe Jimmy just isn't ready for this to be, he plays on such a great team, so they have a great winning record. But how much can you depend on him to miss that many open players? Now, here's a fun game we can play. What if that was Belichick and Brady instead of Shanahan and Garoppolo? What do you think would have happened?
Well, obviously, Belichick and Brady, as far as the combo and everything. I mean, Brady doesn't miss throws, first of all. You could go back in the Super Bowl, and I mean, the 2 Super Bowls he lost to the Giants, especially the first one, immense pass rush by the Giants really didn't allow him much time to look off guys. Otherwise, and if you think of that throw to Wes Welch, to this day, in the second Super Bowl loss to the Giants, to this day, I don't think it was a great throw. Everyone criticized Welch for dropping it. But what I'm getting at is, when Brady's in these spots, he makes these plays. I mean, he makes them to use a percentage that you just used talking about Garoppolo and Shanahan. I mean, Brady makes these plays 80% of the time, at least. And Garoppolo probably made the plays he needed to play 20%, 25% of the time. He didn't optimize, with 49er field position or what they could have got at the end of a couple of drives. And they just, it wouldn't happen. With Belichick and Brady would have put this game in the icebox, even though it seems like every Patriot Super Bowl comes down to the last minute or so or goes overtime. But I know what you're getting at. And, I mean, you can look at it from 2 ways if you're a 49er fan, that this team's got a lot of young talent. They've got a quarterback who you would think is only going to get better from this experience, and a coach who can only get better. But here's my problem with that. When you look at teams, there's no guarantee of getting back. I know people say that all the time, but it's true. I mean, everyone points to Dan Marino, right? Got there a second year of his NFL career, never got back. You don't know if you're getting back. You don't know if you. I mean, we talked about this last week, Jim. The one thing you can say is the 49ers and the Chiefs, they had relatively easy paths in the playoffs to get here. Now, the Chiefs had to struggle to overcome those double-digit deficits. But, I mean, think about it. They played Houston and Tennessee on their home field to get to the Super Bowl. San Francisco played, a decent Minnesota team, but not a great team. And a Packer team that I give you credit. You said to me all year long, this Packer team's not a 13-3 team. That's their record, but they're not that. And I know you love the Niners at NFC Championship game. So think about it. That's who the 49ers had to go through. Neither team really had to go through a gauntlet. And can the 49ers get through a gauntlet like that? A tougher one down the road. In next year or the year after, can Garoppolo win a playoff road game to get Super Bowl? You never know. It's definitely a game that's going to haunt San Francisco. And when you think about it, they're a proud franchise, but those 5 Super Bowl wins are a long time ago now. And now they've lost 2 Super Bowls in the last 7 or 8 years, right? They lost to the Ravens. And when folks think back, they had 4 chances to get in a touchdown with Kaepernick inside the 5, couldn't do it. Had a chance here with a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter, couldn't do it. Those kind of games haunt you, and you don't know when the next time you get back. So what can you say? I mean, Brady and Belichick, they would have closed the deal. You would be almost certain of it. But the combination of Shanahan and Garoppolo, who knows? We're going to have to see. If they don't ever get back here, or if they get back here, we see similar stuff. You think, this wasn't a combo that was meant to be. You could see Mahomes and even Reed, who really never has won the big game, but they didn't seem to get flustered here. They weren't on their game. Reed had a couple of nice little gimmicky play calls and all that other. I mean, I love that little pirouette play that they ran for the touchdown. But, they weren't on their game, and yet they came back. And I look at it the other way. The 49ers had a lot of things going for them. They couldn't put this game in. It's troubling if you're the Niners. Well,
it's a young league because you got a lot of your leadership moving on. The Breeze, the Brady, Rivers. These guys are out, and Manning is retired now, and, Luck retired earlier in the year. So there's a lot of leadership, and quite frankly, maybe that's our fault to think that these kids or young guys, inexperienced guys, can step on a big stage and perform when what we're comparing it to is real professional people from the past, and these guys are not. I mean, Garoppolo may be the greatest quarterback ever, but he didn't look very good in this one. And, we know what Mahomes is going to be, and, unbelievable talent. But the league is young. I mean, right now they're talking about what's going to happen with Jameis Winston. And here's a 30-30 guy, which is absolutely incredible, 30 TDs, 30 interceptions. What's going to happen with him? Are they going to pay him, or is he going to move on? And how much of a gamble can you take on him? These are all guys that are unproven, so we are guessing in a lot of respect to what's going to happen. And yet sometimes you have these young coaches, too. When you think about it, if Garoppolo would have played 10% better, we wouldn't be talking about anything negative about Shanahan. So, hats off to Andy Reid. I'm glad he won. It lost me a bet, but it doesn't matter. In the scheme of things, I had a great year. Let's close out by talking a little bit about some basketball, which is taking center stage now, and what you got going on at the Jim Hurley Network.
Okay, we've got plenty, obviously. We've been going along here. A lot of people are just tuning into basketball now, but obviously we've been at it for a few months, NBA, college basketball. All you got to do, folks, is give us a call. It's a toll-free number, the Jim Hurley Network. We've been around since 1985. I've been with the company since 1994, so we've gone through it. We're doing okay right now in basketball. Not as hot. We're not finding hot streaks yet, but we're banging out profits. Folks, just got to call us at the toll-free number. It's 1-800-323-4453, Jim Hurley. 1-800-323-4453. You can go on our website, jimhurley.com. Lots of college basketball, obviously, as we head towards March Madness. Last night we had a nice winner in the NBA. We had the Indiana Pacers. We figured we'd give a shot going against the Toronto Raptors, and we watched the end of the game, and the Raptors came on. I believe they scored the last 11 or 12 points to win by a point. An amazing story, but you know what? We grabbed the Pacers coming off back-to-back home losses. We thought they'd come in there and play their A game, and they certainly did. They probably deserved to win the game, but heck, they turned the ball over in the last few minutes a few times, cost them. But we cashed in there. We took the Pacers +6. We've had some nice winners in college hoops. A couple of nights ago, we had Ohio State, won that game late against Michigan. So give us a call, 1-800-323-4453. Every day, Saturday and Sunday, give us a call in the morning. We've got basketball round the clock, rest of the way. And then we'll be closing in on baseball before long. So lots of action just because we've ended at the Jim Hurley Network.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate your time today, and we'll talk again real soon.
Sounds good, Jim. Enjoy yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Everybody out there, make sure you check in with Jim Hurley Network. Call that phone number. Joe is a real pro at this, and we'll talk to you real soon. Thank you.